So it's been a year since the kingdom of Osmodus ended its decades-long war against the Elven kingdom of the Viridian Expanse. Both rulers have signed a truce ending bloodshed, returning lands and forests back to each of the prospective nations. The kingdom of Avalon, which is where we're coming from, has called for settlers looking for a new chance to settle outpost towns, sending out the call from the outskirts of their borders. One such border town is New Haven, resting on the border of a recently returned farmland village that until a year ago had seen some of the bloodiest battles of the Aldean conflict. So substantial were the losses that both sides quickly agreed to the truce over a year ago. As a result of New Haven being on the border of both the Osmodus Empire and the forests of the Viridian Expanse, many races have been invited to settle as a fresh start to boost relations with the neighboring countries. So your journey has taken you weeks by carriage from the Royal Hall of Avalon Keep across the halfling hill town of Gittlemore via the stone pass of Astion. For weeks you saw nothing but plains and fertile expanses as you followed the dirt road until at last New Haven was on the horizon. A town on the border of a large forest. As you approach, it comes off as a sort of odd assortment of seemingly mismatched buildings. There's a massive windmill that rests in the back to the west of the town, with huts and several fields off to the south. As you continue into the city, it becomes more modern. Wooden structures and cabins as the streets abruptly change from the dirt path to cobbled stone. This is a city constantly evolving. The carriage stops beside the bustling and open market square, the caravan guard with his spear and shield beckoning for the party to exit. And right there. On the right of the road rests a small but inviting inn and tavern, right over here, with the busy marketplace for the market square off to the left. Across the street, there also appears to be some sort of commotion regarding a public execution that is currently being set up with the gallows being adjusted. You can see the executioner up here. All right, so we have stepped out of the carriage. Technically, let's start with introductions first. So what we're going to do is I'm going to let everybody pick one of the qualities from the character sheet, and this is something that you've learned about the other character as we've been traveling for weeks. So it can either be a personality trait, an ideal, a bond, or one of their flaws that they picked up on. And then that's how you're going to introduce your character.
How do we decide who goes first?
You guys can pick one for me. Do you want to know what my character's... Because I will also be running a character, a bard, to help us. Since we do not have a healer, technically, other than the paladin. So... Do you want to... well, the spells won't come until level 2, unfortunately.
No, the traits and stuff. I'll pick them.
Okay, so... Do you want to know a personality trait, an ideal, a bond, or a flaw?
I kind of want to know a flaw just to know how fucked we are.
Okay.
Sorry to say it so bluntly.
So, as we've been traveling, what you got to know about Aliston Morvair, the renowned actor and bard, is that he seems to be on the run from... Not so much on the run, but he had to leave his homeland for a scandal. And also that he tends to be a sucker for a pretty face. Some of the caravans that we've run into as we've been traveling, as we were leaving, you notice that he gets very distracted when it comes to the ladies.
Okay.
All right, so who wants to go next? And then I'll pick one.
Yeah.
I'll go.
Okay. So do we want to know personality, ideal, bond, or flaw?
Flaw.
Flaw? Okay, what's your...
Flaw? Well, my name is Gilliam Frostbeard. One thing you would learn Growing up in the mountains is very bitter and cold, so you must be very brutish. Violence is one of our favorite pastimes, one might say. So, if there's ever options being thrown around, a swift punch to the face will always be number one on my mind.
Okay.
Even if the situation does not call for it.
It's good to know.
Okay.
So we're getting a bit of an aggressive vibe.
A little bit. Also, this might be too much information, but he's not wearing a shirt.
Okay.
It's just always too warm.
So is
Being
he
in the mountains, you're used to being cold, so you layer it up, and you're like, oh my god, it's so friggin' hot down here. It's like,
Okay.
Alright, so let's go with your sorcerer.
Okay, background story and then a trade or idea.
Yeah, what do you guys want? What did you guys pick up when we were traveling? Personality, ideal, bond, or flaw? What was your background that you chose?
who, me?
No, for your paladin.
Soldier.
Okay, so that's what would determine your
Oh, okay.
your bond or your flaw. You'd look at the background portion and you'd pick one. So are we going flaw, personality, ideal, bond?
I kind of want to know bond.
I'm gonna go flaw all the way across, or
All right, what's
Which one?
what's a bond from your character?
let's see, bond, my seclusion. Let's see. Okay, so first character, named Shiro Talos, half elf sorcerer, with a background being a hermit, bloodline, bloodline or draconic bloodline sorcerer. Let's see, bonds. My seclusion was because of my draconic bloodline, that I was shunned by my village. I was born in a small, isolated village on the side of a forested mountain, raised by my mother until she died. Father was unknown. Mother was human. Presumably father was an elf. Draconic ancestry came from my father's bloodline. Once the signs started showing up, my magic powers. I was ostracized by the village. My mother became sick and was untreated by the village because of their prejudice. She died, and then I began wandering the wilds until I decided to search for my draconic ancestor or my father. Became an adventurer and started partying with people to gain information and knowledge.
All right, that explains why you're with us. Let's go with your personality ideal. Did you pick one from the
I did.
list?
So it's
So what's your character first?
I'm Torfinn Bjornsson. I'm from a small mountain village that was wiped out due to dwarves mining too deeply and
Yeah, we do that.
causing demons to rise from hell,
Oh, okay.
who came through the mine, wiped out the dwarves, and destroyed almost all of my village. I'm the sole survivor, and I'm a little sour towards dwarves, but I know it's not all dwarves.
Okay.
But in general, I'll see a dwarf and it just reminds me of that.
Okay.
I think that's fair.
All right. So then, yeah, that would mean that you've both picked up on that sort of tension as we've been traveling as well.
Just long bouts of us, of you just looking at me and you going, what is this?
So if I see a dwarf gambling, I go, oh, you gamble with people's lives?
All right. So
I tend to face problems head on,
okay.
because in that situation, you had to act, you couldn't think, with demons rampaging through your village.
Also, be mine.
All right. So that's what we've learned as we were traveling together. We've just arrived at the town. There's 3 different sections that we can go to. There's the inn. There's the bustling market over here with some people that are continuing about their business, or there is some commotion going on with this execution over here that looks like it's being set up. What would you guys like to do?
Go over to the execution.
You want to go over the execution?
Yeah.
Okay.
Something,
So now there's
something
4 of
A
us.
long sword wielding cleric.
Yeah, it's weird. But so we've arrived. You said you would like to go over here. Does anyone else want to join them?
I would, but I have a question first.
Okay.
So we were sent here. Would we have been sent here with a point of contact? Someone to look for, a name?
Oh, yeah.
So we are basically here. You're on your quest, as you've mentioned, for information. This is basically a bustling town that it's gone out where people can come and they can join this town. The goal is to make a bustling expansion from an upstart city. It's on the border. So does anyone have history or want to make a history check?
I got +2 in history.
Well, you could try rolling it if you want. I have +3, so I'll try rolling it too.
No proficiency bonus in that though.
Oh, you're pretty high as well.
I got a 16.
Alright.
Okay, so as we've been traveling, and it's become pretty obvious to some of us that this town has multiple purposes. One, when you put a city on the boundary of two former enemy territories and then you invite everyone to settle, it's very apparent that they're trying to get everyone to kind of settle here, see past each other's differences, and kind of grow together in harmony and prevent another war. Because the truce is still very recent. It only happened about a year ago. And this site, it's historic for two parts again, which we mentioned as we were traveling. One was that this is kind of the site where it was like one of the last and bloodiest battles of the war that was fought, and it was so bloody and chaotic that as a result both sides agreed that a truce was necessary. They couldn't continue on. Both were so sure that they were going to win when they amassed their massive armies, and both held on, and there were just thousands upon thousands of deaths. So it depleted both kingdoms. They no longer they lost the taste for war overall. And this is kind of a way for them to establish a city that's the Viridian Expanse, the Elven Kingdom, is right on our border. It's literally the forest right next to us, about like an hour or two away from the farmland. And we are on the farthest outskirts of the Human Kingdom, the Osmodus Kingdom. And we just came from the capital of Avalon.
So we're still technically in our land?
Yes, it's basically a border town that is sandwiched between the two.
Okay.
Oh, okay.
It was formed after the battle?
Yes.
Okay.
It was formed about a year ago. So
Okay.
that's why, as you were traveling, you kind of noticed how the buildings were mismatched. This is essentially the very well-developed city square, and then everything else surrounding us is just random buildings, whether it's cabins, huts, farms. So it's grown in about a year, but this is as far as it's gotten so far.
Okay. So it's on the border between the Human Empire and the Elf. Was it founded by both nations?
It was, yes.
Okay.
But mainly it's the human. It's considered a human settlement.
But they both built it, or?
Yes. So the goal is, the invitation went out to all races. It went out to the dwarves, which are to the north of us. They're the Dwarven Mountains up to the north. There's a great desert to the south. We have not seen any orcs in a long time, though. But there are rumors that there's still the orc nation to the south. And then, so we are kind of surrounded by three major environmental elements. We have mountains a few days to the north. We have a great desert to the south. And then we also have the forest to the west.
Okay.
But we are also weeks away from any reinforcements, any other. Historically, it's cheaper to rely on the neighboring cities once you build an outpost that far out. So that is why the invitation went to everyone. They can settle however they want.
Okay.
Just from the stepping out of the carriage, do we see any kind of military presence?
There are guards, so you'll notice these gentlemen right over here. Every so often, there are gentlemen patrolling the streets with bows and swords up there in the hilt. And you also do kind of notice what appears to be a captain with a guard over here as well. She looks like a very heavily armored knight.
And you said they're just kind of like setting up. There's not like a commotion or anything. They're just kind of like getting
Well,
started.
there appears to be some discussion. It's being set up and going back and forth between these two individuals in particular. Did anyone else want to join? He is currently walking toward the execution.
Yeah, I'll walk toward them.
I would see
Yeah.
it and get a little giddy and kind of
Ooh, dead body.
just ooh, I wonder what happened.
Actually against the well here.
Yeah.
Yeah, I will join as well. So as we're walking, there's actually a woman that does approach the first person that was walking over to the execution. Very beautiful. She's clothed in silk cling to her. She's got a flowing sash around her waist. And she just kind of walks up and seems like a very kind person. Appearances can be deceiving though. And she does have a dagger at the side as well. And she walks over and she approaches and she says, good sir, can you help me for a moment? And so she is approaching, okay. She's approaching Torfin because he was kind of leading the pack. He was the first to start walking over toward the execution. And she does kind of sense that, judging from the way you are clothed, that you are a paladin as well. And so she kind of reiterates that. Yes. It's not really going to be game breaking. She saw you. She sized you up immediately as exactly who you are, that you are a paladin. So she approaches you and she says, sir, you strike me as a lawful and righteous man, and I can see from your attire you're a paladin. Please, can you help me? We need to stop this execution. They're going too far.
What is this man accused of?
I understand that it's just such a heinous and thing to discuss. It's almost embarrassing, and just the debauchery is so ridiculous. But to end a man's life for what he did, it's just too extreme. And she's gonna point to the farmer over there, and she says that man did unspeakable things with that man's prized possession. And when he was caught by the guard, the farmer was so outraged that he has insisted on him being executed for it.
Need not say anymore.
In the background, you hear Gillian be like,
She's like,
a cow
but-
or a sheep, huh?
He's like, yes, it is heinous, but to kill a man for that, it's just... She's uncomfortable with discussing it. But
Is she a human?
she is, yes.
Okay.
Now you can also ask her who she is, or she's
Okay.
basically begging you to help lessen the crime, so he's not executed for that.
Who are you to this man accused of
What's your relation?
furriness?
Yeah, we got a relation between us.
Yes, in case you can't see it as well. So his prize possession right there is the little pig that he is holding.
Oh, sweet God.
It's a teacup here.
By the gods, the
Who's
man
this
is
man?
savage.
Who's this man to you that parked the porker?
Oh, no.
Oh. Poor Steve.
You're a man of the cloth. You're not supposed to make jokes like that.
So she says, I'm just a humble, noble woman. I've been in this town for some time, and I abhor public executions. I think they're uncalled for. This man could easily just serve a term in prison.
Well, surely we do need to cleanse evil, but I'll determine if this man is evil or not.
You can use persuasion and ask, was there a trial? Was there an investigation?
Yeah, Do you guys want to ask her?
Sure. Do you want to do it?
No, that's fine. Because
Yeah,
those are all
she'll
pretty
answer it.
basic. Yeah, she's trying to do. You get the feeling that she's trying to do anything to just stop this execution. She's that offended by public executions.
So it's not the crime, it's the punishment. She's upset. That's
Yeah.
right.
Well, crime certainly is upsetting.
It gets lonely as well.
So she says the trial itself was that because he was apprehended, caught and apprehended. The they left it to the farmer to determine what the ultimate fate would be, and he is so outraged at what happened to his prized
Okay.
pig Petunia. That
Oh no. What, did you
Pig-
say
had to be a
Petunia or
girl's name.
Petunia?
Petunia
Oh.
that he insisted, and
Okay.
but she feels he's being emotional, he's being hasty. It's understandable that this man needs to serve some sort of punishment for the
Okay.
crime, but
So
killing him is just too far.
the only official we see was we saw a captain of a guard near the platform, right?
Yes, she's standing here with the farmer, and they've
Okay.
been kind of conversing back and forth.
All right. So say thank you to her for giving us the information. We'll ask the captain of the guards what trial was done or speak on your behalf. We can persuade the captain to show leniency or participate in the festivities.
Before we leave, did we catch your name?
Oh, what was her name?
Yes, and so she introduces herself as Lady Delano.
A lady.
Lady
Yes.
Delano?
How accepting is this town of dragon can?
Yeah. Well,
Well,
They're-
my
they're
abilities
accepting-
only show when I use magic.
Yeah, they're
Oh,
accepting of
yeah,
all
that's
kinds.
the-
There's
okay.
been a call for everyone to essentially come here and settle, kind of to try and maintain the peace, if you will, make it a sort of a melting pot, so that they are.
Oh,
So she says her name is Lady Delano, but you can call her Lucia. And then she will accompany you over here.
Okay.
So
So what was her name? Lucille?
Lucia.
Lucia Delano. Lady Lucia Delano.
Is it Lucilla?
Lucia, yes. And then Delano. And then as we're walking over, Allison's going to make a comment where it's like, "Yeah, I've heard worse. Heard worse stories."
You've heard worse stories. Where have you been, man?
Allison is not only an actor, but he's a renowned poet, storyteller, and hopeless romantic. So it's like, yes, of course we'll help you, man. Yes. Please lead us over immediately. All right, so who is going to approach the captain of the guard?
Let's see, who's got the most charm? I got +4 on charm.
I have +4 as well. I have +6 with persuasion because I have my proficiency bonus.
My persuasion.
I have intimidation.
+6 as well. For
You could try to
persuasion.
intimidate her. It doesn't need to be persuasion. You
I've
could
got
try to
intimidation.
We got investigation. I got intimidation at 6.
The sky's the limit. You could try to intimidate her to back
Yeah.
I
down.
mean, I have a decent persuasion too, so I could just.
I don't need to. Wait, what is she doing?
We're walking over because
approach.
he had mentioned that we would help and talk to the captain of the guard.
Oh, okay. I thought we were talking to Lucia. I was like. no, we're
Well,
talking
she said
to
she
Captain.
would follow us over to
Oh,
to
okay.
try and lend help. So what I will say is anyone who does make the roll, because Lady Lucia will be helping you, will have advantage.
Okay.
So you'll be able to roll.
pleading the case too. Okay.
Yes, you'll be able to roll twice and take the higher roll.
Okay.
But just be aware that there's always consequences if you roll poorly or you roll a 1.
I
Can I
know.
talk to the farmer?
So while we're walking over there, he is getting up there at that point.
Okay.
So they haven't done anything yet, but they're still setting it. They're sizing him up for it's like, you kind of hear him in the background saying, "Damn it, who wrapped this rope? It's too high. I can't even get this around his neck." And he's fiddling with the rope. The guy's just awkwardly there, waiting for the noose to be lowered onto his neck. So you get the impression there still might be a few minutes of
Mhm.
time if we
Okay.
plead a case.
I go over and talk to the farmer.
Yeah, you could. We can even split up. So if somebody wants to talk to the farmer and try to plead the case, and okay,
So I'll go
so
talk to the farmer.
you go talk to the farmer.
I'll go with him
And then I'll talk to the captain.
Okay.
just because I'm more of
Your
a
muscle.
layman.
Your
person.
muscle.
I mean, I can be if you need me to be, but I'm more of a layman. I'm not really
And
You're here for the show.
so I will go with you.
I was gonna say I'm just gonna go stand in the middle of one.
And so that way you and I can try it together, and I'll give you advantage while
Okay.
Lady Lucia is with you because she had accompanied you first, and I'll give you advantage.
Okay.
So first things first, since you decided first, what are you going to say to the farmer? So he notices you approaching.
Let's see. Are you really certain death is the only way to pay this man's crime? There's no other service he can give you to repay you for this?
Okay, go and make a persuasion check, yeah.
10, 13.
Okay, and you can roll a second time and take the high one.
21.
Okay,
Alright.
so your argument to him is so moving that there's almost tears in his eyes, and he feels like he's starting to think twice. Maybe he is going too far. Meanwhile, you are making your argument to
The captain.
of the guard. Yes.
Asking him to show the leniency to.
It's a her.
Oh.
So it's a female knight. She's in plate armor.
Alright, we walk up, say, Lady Lucia told us what was going on, and she feels that the punishment isn't fitted for the crime. That there should be leniency toward this person.
Okay, go and roll the persuasion,
Let's see, 11. Do I get?
and then you would add all the modifiers, and then you also get to roll a second time, and then you
Okay.
take the higher roll.
So 6 on to 11, 17.
Okay.
First. And then that one's 9, so yeah, I'm gonna take the 11. So 17.
So first she introduces herself, and she
Mhm.
says, "Well, I'm Laska, a captain of the guard. I do understand your concerns. We do not take lightly the ending of a man's life, but ultimately it is up to the farmer as to what punishment fits the crime, since he is the wronged party in this situation and his personal property was violated so horribly."
Okay, so no judge in the town, no due process.
Yes, however, you're
It's
still
martial
with
law.
him, so so now the farmer's looking to you because you rolled so high, and he's saying, "Well, what would you suggest then? What if not to execute this man, then what?"
Well,
He's like, "My poor animal here."
let's see. You're a hard-working farmer, and you took very personally and very emotionally what he did to your prized pig Petunia. So I understand you would want to go to the furthest point and punish the man with his life, but surely there's a way he'll repay you, and I think you should make him work for you. Give him a sentence to work for you as an indentured servant.
Okay, go make a persuasion check.
Give him a chastity belt.
Can I give him the help action by going, yeah, man, free labor, come on, get your worth out of him. You
Okay.
see-
Oh, oof. 7.
Well, you get advantage, so roll a second time.
Oh, okay. 17.
Okay, so he's like, "Well, I don't know if I'd ever trust him to be on my farm again, but perhaps I could offer him to another farm as an indentured servant and gain a benefit that way. But I would never want him to step foot on my farm again."
Okay.
Understand.
And so the captain of the guard over here, she's kind of overhearing that at that point. And she's like, "All right, we'll cut him down and we can see what can be arranged."
Thank
And
you,
then
Captain.
the executioner up here is like, "Oh, I think I got it." And she's like, "Nope, bring him down, bring him down." And he's like, "Oh, come on, I get paid by the execution here."
Ooh, he's paid by the head.
How blazing sad is it?
So he leaves. So he's brought over. He's being escorted by the guards now.
Okay.
And, of course, he's pleading this case. He's like, thank you so much.
Are there any common people in the area?
Over here there are.
But none near the gallows?
Correct.
Or that's the venues? Okay.
Correct.
I was going to try to take the vibe on it, but there's no.
Okay. No showing it.
I stopped the guards. This man can't go away without a mark to show what he's done.
They're like, again, the punishment is also up to the farmer. So,
I understand, but I'm a noble paladin.
all right. So what are you gonna do?
Caster.
Oh, we were gonna drop you from your neck, but drop your pants. Let's do this.
Pee up on his face.
He gets to keep his head, but only the one above his shoulders.
And they're like, no, sir, that's too far. That's too far. This man is already going to be an indentured servant. There's already an agreement for the crime.
Well,
And we can't have him exposing himself indecently in public either. Not after everything that's happened.
I have a second option. We can carve a letter into his forehead.
Yeah, you could do that if you want.
Good mark.
She's more open to that.
Okay.
She just
Okay,
doesn't...
that's a mark. Okay.
This way he can never, unseen or unknown to what he's done.
You can carve a capital P.
Yeah.
PF in it?
Yeah. Oh my god.
Alright, so you're just gonna... They're like, if you...
Intimidation?
They're like, we have no laws against that if you're gonna mark this man.
Let's see. Yeah, which
Or you're gonna brand him or something.
No, I'll get my dagger out.
You could just do a mark. It's up to you.
No, he needs a scar so it heals and everybody sees it.
Okay.
Alright, so you go ahead and do that.
Alright.
And then...
Get some people to hold him down on the
Oh,
table.
We're part of it. Okay.
Alright.
You just see
Well,
Gillian jumping up and down, raising his hand.
What they do is they put him into the little stocks.
The stockade?
Yeah, so...
Okay.
Alright.
And yeah, you do a little mark in the forehead or the cheek.
In his forehead.
Okay.
So it'll bleed a lot, but it'll heal.
Okay, and then he's left in the stocks for the time being.
Okay. I throw some salt on it so it makes sure it's clean.
So we can no longer use him as a, valuable source that we saved his life now.
So-
You might harbor a hatred toward us.
So Lady Lucia is a little surprised at the turn of events. She was like, "Thank you for saving the man's life. However, I don't think that he needed to be branded. But the law is the law, and
It's the law of the
he
people.
is still alive, and that's what matters."
Okay.
Where do you guys want to go next, or do you want to continue talking with the farmer is walking away, kind of spits on him as he's in the stocks, and then he walks back to his farm.
Bye, Petunia.
Can you imagine?
Oh.
I changed my mind.
And
Oh,
the
that was
cap-
me. That was me saying that.
Okay.
and Laska, the captain of the guard, is like, "Well, I suppose that was one way to handle it." And
Justice was served and life was saved. Not bad for 5 minutes in this town.
Okay.
all right, so what would you guys like to do next, or would you like to continue conversing with the noblewoman or the captain of the guard?
I'll
Meanwhile, the executioner just kind of leaves. And
thank them
he's-
for their
defeated.
cooperation, but it's been a long journey and I'm pretty hungry.
Okay. Did you still want to go to the armory? There is the marketplace over here.
No.
No.
I'm good.
Okay.
I'll head towards the tavern as well.
Okay.
I
So
need a drink.
And then,
So Lady Lucia does thank us for the help, regardless of how
we spare-
shocking it may have been with the stock, and the two women are just kind of staring at each other, confused. That's the turn of events. But that's it. I am going to, before we leave, actually, I'm going to try a persuasion check to try and make them friends. You guys can as well if you want.
Yeah.
Yeah, I have not impressed the captain of the guard.
I got a 19.
I got a 10. Okay, so
Somehow I got a 19.
Take your charisma.
so she's looking at you with that 19, and she's like,
The one who
you know,
gets
we
it
could
right.
probably use some help around here sometime. She remembers your mention of free labor. And then she does say that if you're ever interested in undergoing some militia training, she might be able to help you if you have a week or two to undergo some of the boot camp of it.
I'd love to when we have spare time.
Yeah, I am now going to also try to negotiate with the lady. I did a little better. The 20, so they are going to become friends. She's like, well, I appreciate, what your friends did for us. And if you need anything, please let us know. Aliston, of course, says, oh, of course, madam, of course. And perhaps you've heard of me. I am Aliston Morvere, renowned actor and poet. And if you ever need any assistance from me, please don't hesitate to ask and come find us. It's like there's nothing I enjoy more than to help a fellow friend and maiden. And she's just kind of looking at him a little confused.
I'll see if I can somewhat.
He's like walking away and
Befriend.
got that kind of pompous thing. He's wearing his fur coat. This is a bardic fur coat and everything. And so they're kind of looking at each other. She did not get a good vibe from him at all. She doesn't hate him, but she was kind of like, yeah, I don't like this guy.
The captain?
Wait, who was
Yeah.
Oh, the captain?
The captain of the guard.
Doesn't like
He's a playboy, knows that he's a charmer.
She's on to your tricks.
So she's just kind of shaking her head and she's like, bards.
These doors open.
They do.
Oh my god.
So
They open.
that now leaves us approaching the tavern.
Mm-hmm.
There will be another little detail that we're going to notice as we are approaching. It's not really there, but written over the doorway. So as you near the inn, you notice a very peculiar sign hanging above the door that reads, "The Slaughtered Dolphin." Further emphasizing, okay, so we are entering the tavern, correct?
Yeah.
So you have to help me here, I'm a little blind on this thing.
As someone who grew up in the mountains, I look to the rest of my compatriots and I say, what the hell's a dolphin?
What the hell's it?
And so we walk through the doors.
I believe it's some kind of a fish.
Ah, sounds delicious.
And they close behind us here.
I've been told they're fierce in the ocean, but I've never seen one.
So further emphasizing the name as you enter through the wooden double doors is the fact that resting on the wall over here with the sword and shield is a sword running through what appears to be a dolphin head fashioned into a shield. There's a grizzled, balding man that stands behind the bar as two younger women stand beside him waiting to serve customers. An older woman then scuttles in from the kitchen with a warm smile. So she kind of turns around as we enter. And she sees us coming in. Now inside the tavern, there is a mixture of furniture from two long wooden tables with benches to a handful of smaller circular tables with chairs scattered about. There's also a fireplace in the corner that rests against the wall. What would you guys like to do?
Order a drink and sit down.
Okay, so as we kind of approach the bar here to get our drinks and then take our seats. I'm assuming everybody's gonna.
Yeah, we'll sit down.
Okay.
Do you partake in alcohol?
Yes.
Alright.
Order some ale and bread.
I'll put them on there. Okay, so as I believe you were actually, it should be swapped because I believe you were approaching to get the drinks. So as you approach the bar, you also notice that just perched on top of it is a little rooster that stares at you.
Quite the array of exotic animals in this town.
And so she smiles and says, "How can we help you?"
You like
The bartender or the rooster?
The woman from the bar.
Okay. Okay. At that moment, like, did the rooster turn and talk to us as we approached?
This is the best tavern ever.
Yeah. Okay. So.
Yeah, and so the bartender says, "Don't mind them. Don't mind the rooster. I call him Lil.
Okay.
Well.
His name's Lil.
Okay.
L-I-L. Like little, but for slang."
I'll order four
rounds,
pints
Yeah.
and some bread.
Okay. So he says, "Thank you. We'll get that ready right away." So the wife goes back to the kitchen to start prepping some of the dishes and the cups, as the daughters start taking pints of ale from the bartender.
Mm-hmm.
And he says, "Thank you for your patronage here at the Slaughtered Dolphin."
Okay. Let's see.
I'll ask him what his opinion is of the farmer that got his petunia violated.
He's like, "Sick bastard, that one."
Yeah.
It's like, I don't really have an opinion on it though. I don't know about killing a man for it, but maybe he could have fought someone to the death.
Yeah. Well, I said,
Trial by combat.
well, we dealt with it. We spared his life, and he's going to be an indentured servant, but not without a mark I gave him.
Okay.
Something like that shouldn't be forgotten.
Since he's the bartender, do an investigation. Ask about the actual the person who did the crime, who he was in the town.
Oh, this guy
Yeah,
over here?
because we didn't really know anything about him, like his name or
Okay.
who he was in the town. Like he could have been like school teacher of the town.
So he says he doesn't really know much about the guy. He just showed up maybe a week or two ago.
Okay.
So came kind of as a shock to everybody.
Okay.
Came to a shock to us as well.
Shock the pig.
And then he says, "I noticed you guys admiring my my family crest over here."
I'm gonna ask him what exactly a dolphin is, because I've only heard small bits about
Rumors and stuff.
the animal.
Okay. So he says that he's like, "Well, it's near as I can tell, it's a kind of fish." He says, when I was a wee bit younger, I crossed the seas on my trek over here to this fair kingdom. As a gladiator, you see, traveled from kingdom to kingdom. And while trying to spear a few fish one day on a fateful cruise, that dolphin right there popped his head out, started laughing, and fish scattered everywhere. It's like, well, I grabbed my sword and jumped right in there. It's not laughing anymore.
Oh God, you sword fought a fish?
You mean to tell me the fish laughs?
It's like, not anymore, it doesn't. And then he says, my daughters, Jaina and Mata, will get you your drinks shortly.
Mm.
Your drinks and your freshly baked bread.
You said his wife and his daughter?
His two daughters
Oh.
that are over here. They're kind of waiting for the dishes.
Okay.
So we're settling in, essentially. Now he does say that if we are interested, the mayor may have a problem that we can solve, because you did start investigating,
Mm-hmm.
and he says, that's not even the worst thing. He's like, that was pretty bad, what happened to that animal, but
But a lot of things have been happening.
but we've been lately, undead skeletons have been showing up in the city on the outskirts, and we've lost a few. In fact, my understanding, that's how they found that gentleman in the pig. Is they were
They had patrols and
they were patrolling for undead, and they
heard the pig squealing.
found something else entirely.
The bones led to the bone and...
Oh.
I'll say, evil like this can't go uncleansed, because it can take over and be too much to handle. So we should head out as soon as possible.
Okay. Since we started investigating, ask him, what other strange occurrences have been happening over the town for how long? Because the town's only been around for a year, but there was a bloody war before that. This town built on an Indian burial.
It says, well, the town is built on, it was very rich farmland, but there were many battles that were fought over it, and trying to take back the farmland.
Okay.
And so there were many deaths in this area, unfortunately. But other than the undead, that's a new occurrence that they hadn't seen in a while.
Okay.
So, however, there are dungeons, former dungeons, and various other things that they're discovering every day. And the mayor does have an active interest in finding magical relics from those places, and he does seem to pay well for them.
And what was the name of the mayor?
Garzon, I believe, actually.
About what time of the day is it?
We got here mid-afternoon.
Okay.
Oh, okay. Alright, well, I say we rest up and we check out a map while we're relaxing here, where they've discovered some of these dungeons.
Can
We
ask
can
the
rest up and go
bartender
out
for a
early
map?
the next morning, yeah.
For inn?
Does any of us have a map of the area?
We do not.
You're supposed to make a map or carry a map.
Yeah. Yeah. But
Well,
Want that.
what he recommends is we can talk to the residential huntress, Tanya,
Yeah, okay.
who she is kind of the scout, the local scout for the town. She helps with the wildlife and sort of protecting, foraging, that sort of thing. Or we also have, if you're looking for, because he notices that you are a paladin, there is a priestess in the city that is usually around this time found in the market area, offering to help pilgrims with healing potions or two.
Oh, okay.
When they are paladins, of course. Says any religious followers and pilgrims are usually welcome in her, or welcome to assistance from her. She loves helping those people.
Oh, okay.
I suppose I would pipe up and say, you say you have a priestess in the village. Has she gone to look at these skeletons? Has she been around for one of these attacks?
He says she has not, but she has been focusing on sort of establishing a temple. So right now she's trying to make money at the marketplace to inevitably establish a small temple for the city.
Okay.
So as of now, where do they practice? Just in
Marketplace?
in the marketplace?
Yes, basically she kind of peddles wares, and there really is nowhere to practice right.
So like open bazaar that has different like I guess organization groups have their own setups there, like I'm guessing priests and adventurers guild or any
It's just
guild work?
it's just the one. She's the only one that they've.
Oh, she's the
anyone
only
tried.
one in the town.
Yeah, he says the last priest that they had
Yeah.
ended up dying. Yes, and she sort of inherited it. It says she could probably explain more though. We're not certain why, because he did have a small temple,
Mhm.
but it ended up getting razed, and they're not sure why. She didn't just move into it instead of razing it.
Okay. Well, I think I'm gonna finish my ale and then go talk to her.
Okay.
What was it, bartender? Or no?
He has not actually
The
introduced
owner
himself.
of-
Yes.
Tavern.
We
Of the
like getting right into it. We don't care for names. We're all
murdered
business.
dolphin. What was it?
Hmm?
Which-
The slaughtered
The
dolphin.
slaughtered dolphin.
Yes.
As far as we know, they are fish.
And yes, you kind of sense from the wife as she pops out, and the daughters are bringing the bread to you, and she's like, "Yeah, my husband loves that story."
Did he tell you the story? Yeah.
Ah, 'tis a great tale. Sounds like a mighty beast. I wish to see one
every
one day.
time.
So the husband's name is Karn.
Okay.
Karn. His daughters are Mata, and the wife's name is, she introduces herself as Emma. So Mata would be Mada, and supposed to be Jaina.
Okay.
Jaina. Does anyone want to interact with any of these people, or are we leaving? Do you want to try and gain insight from them? What would you like?
Yeah, I want to investigate the rest of the room, the other people in the room. You had said that when we walked in there were some other people as well.
So Karn is the daughter.
Yes, there also seems to be
Jaina are the daughters, and Emma's the wife.
what appears to be a wizardess,
Uh-huh.
or wizard in the corner, and a halfling at one of the tables in the corner as well.
Okay, since I got the magic, I'll go over and talk to the female wizard. Ask her how long she's been in the town, what's been going on in the town since she's arrived, and explain that we're adventurers.
Okay, so when you do try to talk to her, she doesn't appear to be interested. She just kind of brushes it off. She stares at you. She's got this silver mask over her face, and then she just turns back to the fireplace.
Is she also human?
Okay.
Oh, you can't really tell.
Yeah, you can't wear the mask on.
Oh, that's right. You said she
Silver mask.
And she's got a staff.
Hearing of you said she's like a huntress and a scout?
There is a huntress scout, Tanya, is out here. She's the resident scout for the city, so she helps with any wildlife concerns. From what he explained, there's also the Elven Priestess.
Hearing of another one who loves the wilds, I would go talk to her and say, lads, you're welcome to come with me if you wish, but I'm gonna
He downed his pipe and
go talk to Tanya.
Okay, so you're doing that. What would you gentlemen like to do?
I'll go talk to the priestess.
Okay. And what would you like to do? While you guys are leaving, I'm going to try and secure free room and board for myself with my class ability.
we need to have rooms.
Oh yeah, I'm an actor and a poet.
So I'm like, yes, maybe perhaps you've heard of me. My name is Aliston Morver. Let me just show you some of the things. So he's walking over, he's staring at the daughters as he's taking out his loot. You guys are walking out the doors as he's trying to do this. And
Whistling a jaunty tune, like everything's alright, because it will be.
so he's using his prestidigitation too, to make some smoke.
Press.
Yeah, some like a little sizzle as he's touching the loot. And he didn't roll very well, but he rolled about a 9. But they're like, they're not very impressed.
I've probably seen it before.
Yeah, they're like, oh,
We have
okay.
open rooms, but they're not free.
Yeah. Well, he gets it regardless. He gets it for the attempt. And they're like, okay, well, that's impressive. Good for
Wait.
you, Bard. Good for you.
Is he talking to the daughters or the wife?
He's talking to the daughters.
Oh, okay.
And then he's kind of watching him from over there.
Doesn't need too much trouble.
Okay.
And he's like, I've seen people perform harder at the gladiator bouts I used to fight at, but I suppose that was alright.
That's for headliners.
You can have
Not openers.
yeah, you can. It's like you can have the private room we have for the other one. It's like we have 2 rooms. One is a private room, and the other one is the shared room where there's for travelers.
So we're about here.
Yeah, it's alright, I'm smaller, I don't take up much room.
He also explains that late in the evening too, what they'll do is they'll move the tables together so people can sleep by the hearth as well. If for travelers who can't afford a room, sometimes they'll do that.
But you guys said they sleep on the table.
Okay. Since they made their way back over there, we've exhausted most of the people in the room. I'll go back and try and find the captain, because I didn't get to talk to her about it now. patrols that are going out in the undead.
Okay, and so as he's trying to make a better impression with some of them, he does not impress Jaina, which is ironic because she talks about how she likes books, and he is a bard and a poet and storyteller, but she's getting a bad vibe. He impresses her. She's like, oh yeah, tell me more of your stories. And then he's kind of over there and he's like, hey, like I gave you the room, give him.
Don't you touch my daughters.
Because he rolled he rolled an 8. So he didn't fail horribly with any of them, but he did not roll very high. So they're like, it's like, damn bards, get out of my tavern. We'll have your room ready in an hour. So then he walks out. Okay, what would you like to do?
I'll go to the captain of the guard now, again,
Okay.
and talk about the information we learned about the undead rising.
Okay.
See if we can help.
Just so I know, how long were we in the tavern?
Probably a good half hour or hour, because we
Oh.
did eat, we had some drinks, and we talked. We got the story of where the name came from.
Makes sense.
He was able to perform, and they were like, yeah.
Yeah, lukewarm.
He's like, I wouldn't pay for it, but you can have a room, sure.
Okay.
Like, maybe next time bring your A game.
Ooh.
So you wanted to talk to the huntress. Go and make a persuasion check. You wanted to talk to the priestess. You don't have to make one because she understands that as well.
Okay.
I got a natural 20, so that's 22.
Sweet!
Nice.
Nice.
Why?
nice.
I don't talk. I don't talk to people.
His
I just
muscles
get
talked for him.
All right. So
Just
how?
walk up
What
and
are you?
bounce
What are you going to be telling her?
I would walk up to her and say, "Hello, milady. Are you the one called Tanya?"
It's like, yes, I am. You seem like you're not from these parts, but that you're familiar with the wilds.
More of a mountain man than a forest dweller, but I do love nature in all her splendor. My name is Gilliam. I was just in the Slaughtered Dolphin speaking to Karn, and he mentioned something about skeleton attacks. Is there anything we could possibly do to help you with that?
She says, yes, in all honesty, the mayor would probably be the best person to talk to. She's like, however, you seem like a capable woodsman. So if you ever need assistance, let me know, and maybe I can teach you some of the hunting techniques. So this would be another opportunity, since you rolled so high and you impressed her. If there's ever downtime for a couple weeks, she could potentially teach you a feat.
Ooh.
Nice. That's cool.
And I would say, time alone with you in the forest. I'd pay.
Might have to roll for it. He goes, whoa.
She's like, oh, well, thank
Great
you.
story.
All right, yeah. So when she sees you approaching, she says, oh, fellow traveler and pilgrim, how may I help you?
I've heard there's evil in these parts, and you're trying to build a temple to protect it.
So she says, yes, the former temple was built, this is like, right now I'm not very popular because we had to raise the temple, but they didn't understand that it had been desecrated during the wars and was a former temple to the god of death. So, ironically, that priest was found, or that paladin of that church was found murdered under some mysterious circumstances, and so they raised the site so they can reconsecrate it and build a new temple. She explains, however, that would take a couple thousand in gold and she is slowly trying to sell wares until she gets there. And then she does explain, however, that as a fellow paladin, she would happily give you a potion of healing to help you with your journey.
Okay. I thank her. Anything's helpful. And tell her I would have done the same thing. I fortunately stopped the what would you call it? The wanderer from being killed for something that didn't deserve it, but we couldn't make the act unpunished.
State execution.
Yeah.
She says, well, that was very noble of you. Please take this, let me see if I can find it. The potion of healing is...
I want to get those little bottles that are the different healing potions that have like D4s in them.
Oh yeah.
You just pop the cork in.
Oh, that'd be cool. Or like
There you go.
you shake and then.
So it's a basic potion of healing.
Oh, okay, cool.
Okay, so who
Well,
wants...
what's the priestess's name?
The priestess' name is Aleluna. So Aleluna. She's an elvish priestess, or elven priestess. And
Nobody's asked. You may have just
Aleluna Corzon.
said-
C-O-R-Z-O-N?
Z-A-N.
Did you say what god she's a priestess of?
She is a priestess of Pelor, the god of the sun and healing, which she felt a farm village would be a good fit. And that's when she was shocked to discover that there was a temple of death that was here.
Okay.
But when she arrived, they were already dead under mysterious circumstances, and she had the site raised so they could consecrate it and build a new temple. She does not have the money, however, to build the temple
Okay.
at this time.
I'm gonna tell her I'll do what I can to help the cause. As I came from I'll tell her my backstory a little bit. Came from a destroyed village and was raised by paladins to become one myself.
Okay. She does say, well, a blessed journey for you, and thank you for your assistance. It's appreciated. And you see Aliston here, slowly joining each of your conversations as he's walking around, trying to also make friends. He does not. He gets a 10.
More people.
So she's
kinda
just
lose
like,
more.
oh yeah, nice to meet you, and then she turns back to the conversation.
She's like reattached separate limbs, and he's like, look at this smart.
And so he's just making his way through the crowd, talking to people. Okay, he did a little better with her, and she's like, oh yeah, are you friends with this gentleman over here? She's asking you, by the way.
Oh yeah. We came here together. He's a little annoying, but he's got my back.
And he just kind of pats the dwarf on the back, and he's like, thank you, yes, we're best of friends. Best of friends.
And you see him get dead serious and be like, if you pat me on the head again, oh, you don't want to see me when I'm here.
Touch my beard, you lose a finger.
Okay, so there are other people that you could talk to potentially in this area too. You do see 2 merchants, one male, one female. Lady Lucia is over here just by the well with a guard. You see a lone farmer kind of standing around. He's still kind of watching this whole thing unfold,
Okay.
even though it's already done. And and then the suggestion that the captain guard gave you was that most likely the mayor could give you more details as to the undead situation.
Okay.
Can I go talk to the guy in the stocks there?
Yeah, you could. Yeah. So like the scared straight.
Yeah.
I got intimidation.
Let's see.
He is going to become an indentured servant too.
Right.
Keep that in mind.
I'm gonna tell him, what you did is forgivable in time, but no one can go without forgetting what he did. But I can show some forgiveness if he's willing to tell me about himself, where he came from, and why. What's her name? Yeah. No, why? Why Lucia wanted so
Badly despair.
strongly to spare his life. Yeah.
Alright, go and make a persuasion check.
Okay.
Because he is still a little upset.
Well, I'll tell him I'll ease his pain. 19.
Nice.
Okay, so even though he's still shaken from earlier and that whole incident with you carving into his forehead, and he's like, I came here a couple weeks ago. I'm a settler from the kingdom of Avalon. I thought this would be a fresh start, and just felt so lonely.
Well,
He's been struggling to find work.
Well, now he's got plenty of work. I tell him that's no excuse for feeling lonely. But can I dip my fingers into the health potion and rub his forehead to let it heal just a little bit?
You'd have to use the whole thing.
Oh, okay. All right. Sorry, man. I gotta use this potion. All right. I'll do. I have a bandage or something. I just wrap his head so there's no bleeding in his eyes. Yeah.
And then as far as your other question, he says, he doesn't know much about the lady other than she seems like a very kind spirit. She's very heavily into the politics of the town and has taken an interest since her arrival.
Okay.
I'm gonna walk to. I need a bedroll, so I'm gonna try to talk to one of these people and get one.
Okay.
Can I join you talking to that merchant?
Yes. So let's see. So the merchant says, "Hello there, my name's Thomas Stein. How are you, good sir? I can see you have an eye for detail. What can I help you with?" He sees him looking over all the goods, and he's like, "Well, I need a bedroll." And he's like, "Oh yes, sir, I can give you the finest bedrolls." And he quotes market price. And he's like, "Oh, okay, let me take a look around." And he kind of leaves. Because I did roll well, and then I come over here and I'm talking to her, and I roll a little better with her. And she kind of spits on the floor, and she's like, "I saw you talking to Tomas over there. Man wouldn't know quality if it hit him in the head. So you should buy from myself here. I'm Gloria Mason. I sell all sorts of fine produce and carts, equipment readily available and quality assured." And he does roll a little higher with her, so she's willing to give a couple gold off the price. And he's like, "Why, thank you, madam. You have a deal." And he buys a bedroll from her.
Can I talk to Tomas?
Yes. What are you looking for?
I actually just want to ask him. So we've heard from a few of the villagers that you've been having issues with undead. Have any of your caravans been attacked on the way into the city?
He says, "Luckily, no, but a few of the caravans have reported seeing them over to the northeast as they've been coming down the dirt roads. When they get late in the evening and the sun is setting, they've seen a skeleton here or there. One even described, since you're asking, so go and roll persuasion check or investigation."
13.
Okay, that's still high enough. He says one even started talking about seeing some sort of skeleton bull type creature, but I don't know if I believe it.
Like half man, half bull, but
That's
all
still-
skeleton?
It's like, no, it was more like a walking bull man with
The Minotaur.
skeleton features, like no flesh. But
Undead Minotaur.
Well, there
I don't know if I put any stock in that. It's like that man's been known to drink once or twice on the trail.
As have I, good sir. As have I. I will thank you for your time, and I will head off and try to reconvene. Actually, you're probably closest to me, I would imagine.
Yeah, I'm over here. Yeah, he's in the market.
Yeah. So I would walk up to Alistair.
Okay, let me.
You're still in the cabin?
Aliston Morvale.
Alistair.
Yes, Aliston, actor extraordinaire. Actor, poet, storyteller extraordinaire.
Is that how you always introduce yourself?
Yes.
Every time you say your name, you say
He has to give the full title.
full resume.
And he
So
uses prestidigitation
Here's
for
my
magic.
window.
It's like magic.
so I would approach Aliston and I would say, so I've talked to two different people. One gave me, Thomas over there mentioned some sort of bull man creature. Sounds amazing. I can't
Okay.
wait.
And Aliston's gonna tell you, well, and this fine older young lady is
Passable.
Gloria Mason. She sold me one of the finest bedrolls I've ever seen in a while. I do appreciate that.
I would say we should reconvene with our compatriots. Cause
And by the way, while you were mentioning Tomas's name, she spits on the ground again.
well, that's not very nice. But I would say yes. We should do reconvene with our compatriots, and it seems we'll get no specific information from the townsfolk. We should go right to the source.
Okay, so as you're talking, there's this gentleman over here, farmer.
Death.
A farmer?
He's walking with a sight.
The pig farmer or just another farmer?
By the way, since you had rolled so high, Tanya introduced you to her full name, which includes a tribal hunter name. It's Tanya Gladys Strife. She's of the Strife clan. The Strife woodsman. So he approaches and he said, "Did I hear you talk about the mayor?" He's like, "That guy's an idiot."
What makes you say that?
So the farmer's kind of looking around and he's like, "Yeah, you see this fountain right over here? It looks fantastic, right?"
Sure does.
It's like, so when we first got here, it's like, let me tell you about the mayor. Well, go and roll a persuasion check just to see how much he trusts you. I did not roll very high.
Ooh, neither did I. I got a 6.
Okay, yeah, I got 4. I got 10 total. So he's like, well, I guess I can tell you why I don't like this guy. It's like, you see this fountain over here? When we all first got here, we all had individual jobs. One person's job was to oversee the construction of the tavern, so we all made the first floor, right?
Priorities. I get you.
Garzon's job was to help oversee making a fountain and water source for the village. So he takes all the supplies that we had at the time, and he makes this giant fountain, and it can drain, and there's a little sewer drain and everything for the sewers that we then started making. He's like, so now let me walk you over here. You see this? This is the actual town well where everybody has to get water. We used all our resources to make that fountain, and then we had to wait a couple weeks to build an actual well because the moron used all our supplies building this grandiose fountain of himself holding a trident that pours water from 6 different directions. It's like he's a moron.
Well, I do kind of see your point, but
As you look at it, you do notice it's very flamboyant It's a naked figure with the sash going across the chest and a trident as well.
And the person is him.
Well, we haven't met him yet, but you would assume the likeness is similar.
He's a bit of a vain man, huh?
It's like the only reason this guy has still in power is because he has money. He likes collecting artifacts and whatnot. It's like, quite honestly, I'd rather have Lady Lucia as our mayor. She at least cares about people.
Well, you never know. Sometimes things happen and you get what you want. Sometimes they don't and you don't. We'll see how things go.
Okay. Any other questions for him?
I guess since he's talking to me, I would say, I was talking to my friend here about these undead attacks we've been hearing about. Have you heard anything? Do you know anything about these?
He's like, awful shame. I haven't been impacted by it, but it's not long if we see one or two where there's going to be a whole horde of them if we don't take care of the problem. I've heard of other outpost villages that ended up to the same fate. It's like, anyway, I should be getting back to my farm, but if you ever need any help, just ask for Farmer Thompson.
Thank you, Farmer Thompson. Have
And
yourself a good day.
Carries his scythe and he starts walking out. Alright, so you were heading to...
I'll probably have made my way back to the rest of the group in the marketplace, and then
Okay,
saying, I think it's time to talk to this mayor now.
okay.
I concur.
So he's going to be in here as well.
Oh no, is it him? Oh no.
No, it's the executioners with him.
It's like Thelonious or something.
Oh no.
No, yeah, I think he'd be standing on the bear rug.
Yeah. I'd be like, what bear rug? What?
I'm sorry.
Yeah, I'm gonna charm them.
Kid.
Payment received.
I was gonna say, we never actually asked where the mayor was.
Oh, well.
Yeah, he would have pointed out. There's one other
Okay.
story he would have told you. He was like, oh, before I forget, too. It's like, you see that giant building over here? And that's my bad. I was supposed to mention this. You see this giant building over here that's roughly the same size as the tavern? That was supposed to be the second floor of the tavern, but instead, it's the first floor of the mayor's manor instead. Because once he became mayor, when our first mayor died, unfortunately, he used all the resources instead of building the second floor to build his own manor. So we have a tavern and then a manor that's the exact same size right next to each other. It's like I said, he's a moron. He walks up.
Well, now I see your point, sir. Yeah, so then I guess we would head over to we would head over and bang on his door.
Okay, so the door
I would be
opens.
slightly missed, so I would like pound on it.
The executioner, even though he's wearing a mask, you can see the frustration in his eyes from earlier. And he just kind of is like, what do you want?
We wish to speak to the mayor.
Okay, so he lets you guys in.
Oh, thank you. That was way easier than I thought.
He sighs in frustration though, but he's like, fine.
No one ever wants to talk to me.
Oh, you guys. We should have let him carve it.
On the light poles, the lanterns move.
Oh, I know. I've been watching that. I like it.
Okay, so you walk in and you see this sort of flamboyant sort of nobleman. He's standing in front of this what looks like a lavish silk and wooden throne. Just oddly out of place with some of the furniture.
Upon seeing his bare rug, I would just kind of shed one tear. Be like, what has the bad man done to you?
Now he saunters from his throne over to you, and he's got a very giddy attitude. And he's like, "Oh well, hello there. How are you, gentlemen, today? What can I do for you?"
The question is not what you can do for us. The question is what can we do for you? We're a fresh band of adventurers, and we hear you have a bit of a well, I hate to use the term bone problem, but sorry. You have a bit of an undead problem, and we're seeking to help with that if we can.
Okay. He's like, well, perhaps you gentlemen could help me then. Yes, I do have a task that you might be able to assist with. You see, it may be a little difficult, but yes, we do believe that we have tracked down where the undead are coming from. There is a former mausoleum that was not too far from here that we started burying our dead in because it was already partially built. There was a tomb there, and we just sort of expanded upon it. However, unfortunately, as of late, we've started seeing undead coming back from it. Not our undead, mind you, but it seems like there were just more there. And they are appearing usually after the sun starts setting. It says also, from the scouts and sort of the history that I've been able to find there were a few fabled magic artifacts and one in the neighboring areas, and from some of the scrolls that I've discovered, there is reference to one of them that was potentially buried in the mausoleum as well. So if you could fetch that for me, perhaps I could give you a good price as a reward.
Is the mausoleum still on the human side of the border?
Yes, it is.
So does that mean all the people that are coming out are all humans? Or
Well, it says so far they've seen some skeletons that they've had to vanquish. Nothing too difficult with the trained guard, but that doesn't mean that more won't start appearing soon.
Were the skeletons armed? Were they former soldiers that died during the war?
He does say some of them were armed, but it didn't seem like they were armed with recent weaponry.
Okay.
It seemed more like ancient weaponry.
Okay.
one of the men in the marketplace mentioned some sort of bull man creature. Have you heard any reports about it?
Go ahead and roll investigation.
Guys, I'm super serial. What did you say? What's good?
Investigation.
I believe that's a 16. Yeah, 16.
He says, well, there have been a rumor here or there. I haven't personally seen it, and I don't know, honestly. But, yeah, there have been rumors of some sort of bull-like skeleton with a weapon of some sort in the evening. But
has anyone that claimed to see it come back to the village?
Yes, but most of them are usually drinkers or were kind of hysterical, so at that point, couldn't really confirm anything from them.
That's fair enough. I have a question. I can't remember what it was. I'm more of a fisticuffs kind of man.
Okay.
Mr. Half-Elf over here, would you happen to know of mausoleums being set up with wards or magic in place to protect them?
Go and make a history check.
I was gonna say,
Me?
should we do
No,
history?
for whoever you're asking. Yeah, do a history check.
I'm sorry, what's your character?
Shira.
Shira?
Shira. Yep.
Like S-H-I-R-A?
S-H-I-R-O.
Oh, Shiro. Oh.
Yeah, I didn't roll that high.
17 plus history is 2, so 19.
It's not uncommon that there were tombs that were built on top of other tombs, and sometimes that's usually the problem, is there was a dungeon underneath, or even secret doors, or there's many historical examples of that happening, where there was a mausoleum or some sort of tomb that was an entrance to a larger tomb, and then it just gets forgotten about over time,
Okay.
usually by rich benefactors. And then he does say, because he hears your conversation, he does say in particular that what research I've been able to find is that it belonged to a former warlock hundreds of years ago by the name of Melcha. Melcha the Fell. So Melcha. She was notorious for her necromancy.
Okay, so we'll offer our services to investigate the mausoleum and see if we can not only stop the undead problem that's been happening, but also procure any magic items that might be of some use to the township.
So everyone make a perception roll.
Two.
Not good.
Mine's pretty horrible as well.
I got a 7. Come on, Paladins.
21.
Okay.
Nice. Look how one of us.
So you feel like there's some sort of noise coming from the other room, and this door, I'm just going to remove it. You're the only one that can see it though, because the door kind of creaks open.
I'm the only one that can see the door creaking open.
You're the only one that
Or
rolled
like-
high enough to see through the door that there's...
So like
Okay.
the hangman walked through the door, and when the door opened, you saw through it.
Yeah, walking by, yeah, you see a brief shadow, but you're able to make through the crack of the door because it's not entirely closed. That there was someone sneaking by. And then you see them sneak back out the door. But you're the only one who kind of catches a brief glimpse and then sees the door open and shut. But you do recognize who it is because you rolled so high. It was the same gentleman that we saw at the tavern. What would you like to do about that? Or would you like to say anything?
Well, I will.
I rolled like a 5, so...
We're all just blind.
I'm gonna ask the mayor if he has anyone, if he has any, I guess, employees in this town.
He's like, well, I have this trusty executioner, and I'd like to think that everyone is my employee for the town. But
Okay.
and then as he's saying that, he's settling back onto his throne.
Any current enemies trying to take his position?
He's
No
like, well, I
rivals?
mean, he's like, yeah, there's one. There's this bratty woman that just showed up, Lady Lucia. But other than that, you know.
Oh, okay. Well, I will.
He's like, I give her a couple weeks.
Before something happens to her?
Well, he doesn't say that. But, I mean, you can make an insight check if you want. See if he's implying it or not.
I can. Is it insight?
Yes, to read his intention when he says it.
18.
17.
7.
Okay. I got a 14, 15. He doesn't mean it with malice. He just really doesn't like her.
Oh, okay.
It's more of like gives her a week or two before she runs back to rich parents or something along those lines.
Oh, okay.
She can't handle it out here.
Well, after figuring out that the executioner is really his only loyal person in the town, I'm just gonna say, well, if
What's that? He says his trusty manservant, an executioner.
oh, okay.
It's like he's also my butler, my cook.
Does he have the hood on and like a little hood tie?
He still always has a
He
hood.
always wears
The little bow tie.
He always wears the
taking a shower, like
makes your evenings
like other
terrifying.
shit. So I'll say, well, if you'll excuse me, I'm gonna rest up because tomorrow we'll be slaying monsters.
Okay, so we're going back to the tavern?
Mhm.
Yeah, and instead of sleeping, I'm gonna find who I recognized.
As
look for who I recognized.
I'll make myself the last person out,
Okay.
but just sort of as like I open the door and then I stop for a second and I say, I just turn back and look at him and say, if the lady, if all the lady wanted to do was save one of your people from being executed for I'd call it a heinous crime. Why wouldn't you like her? She literally saved one of your citizens' lives.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, go and roll persuasion check for that.
Oh man, I gotta stop talking. I don't talk. Although apparently I do, because that's another nat 20. Oh my god, that's 22.
So since you rolled so high, he just says that, the law's the law out here, and sometimes when there is no law, you just gotta do what you gotta do to keep the peace and keep the peasants entertained as well.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Keep them happy, keep them fed, and keep them entertained.
Yeah, Gilliam doesn't. As a man who enjoys violence, he doesn't care for that answer, but he just kind of shrugs it off and says, "Thanks, anyways," and
I
just
think with a
heads
20,
off.
we're trying to get that run.
And then he says, and plus, if his neck had snapped, people probably would never do it again for a while, right?
Deterrent. Well, we did brand the man.
Yeah, I think the
Okay.
brand.
And he does comment on this. Says, however, I did find the branding very entertaining.
Okay.
He's like, but if anything, you should have carved a whole word into his forehead.
Oh my god.
Jeez.
He's like, I would have signed it as well.
I pop my head back in. You're a sick man, and then I just leave.
Okay.
All right, so we're back here. How do you want to approach this?
When we walk in, do we see...
We didn't.
no,
Keep in mind, only one of us.
We all walk into the tavern just because we walk back.
Keep in mind, only one of us actually saw that. So we just think we're returning, unless
Yeah.
you told us what you saw.
Like when we exited the mayor's office, did you pull us aside?
Yeah, I'll mention it, and then I'll say, but I'll go up to him and I'll go up and talk to him. You guys,
Privately?
yeah,
Okay.
you guys just stay aware.
So we return to the tavern.
Yeah,
Mm-hmm.
You
Just
feel-
the three of us, and
Well,
you're staying outside.
the four of us.
the four of us return to the tavern.
He's
talking
talking
about-
about.
talking in the tavern.
As we're walking back, I'll tell you guys, I saw a halfling or whoever through the door, or through the crack of the door, and he left out the back. I'm assuming he took something. I don't know if I saw him take anything, but I saw him back there.
Mm.
And he's no loyal employee of the mayor, so
Okay,
probably
so
wasn't supposed to be back there. So I told you guys, but I'm gonna walk up to him alone, and you guys, we don't want to crowd him.
okay, go and make a persuasion check.
I'm not spooky.
Or you could try to stealth up to him if you want.
Oh, no.
If you don't care that he notices you're approaching, though, just take the roll that you did.
11. Yeah, no, you noticed me.
Okay, so that's what, like 15 total or 11
No,
total?
just 11.
Oh, okay.
I only have 2 perception or persuasion.
So he kind of looks at you and he's like, "Can I help you?"
Yeah. Sneaky fellow, aren't you?
And he's gonna say, "Why? Whatever do you mean?"
Well, I don't particularly like the mayor. However, I did see you in his back room. Care to explain what you were doing back there?
Okay, go and make another persuasion check.
13.
Okay, so he rolled for insight. So he knows you don't mean him any harm or anything. You're just kind of prodding for information. And he's like, "Well, it's like I've told my friends in the past. Don't tell me the odds. If I'm going to steal something, I'm going to steal something. And I heard that man has quite a few magic artifacts in there, so I was trying to find some. Like, what's it to you?"
Well, it's come to my attention, talking to the rest of the town here, that this mayor has kind of hoarded a lot of the wealth and misused a lot of the supplies for his own gain, and that could be used in better ways, like building up this tavern to welcome new travelers, or much better building a temple for my fellow priestess out there who had to raise the original, which was being misused for the god of death. And if your talents could be used for something good, I would appreciate it. And so would the town.
Go and make one more persuasion check.
6.
Well, you still roll better than you did. It says, you know what? You keep me paid, I'll help you out. I got nothing against that.
Okay.
He's like, but at the first sign of trouble, I'm gonna be honest with you, I'm gonna leave you behind.
Fair enough. I've got away from worse.
And then he says, I saw that dwarven gentleman of yours before. Be the first one I'll use as a shield, too. It's almost my height.
And I'll tell him, Dwarfin. Who are you?
He says, my name is Welby Highhill.
One more time?
Welby Highhill.
Welby?
Yes. Says I was always a bit of an outcast amongst the other halflings in my hometown, so I left at a young age. Most of those poor bastards were law-abiding citizens, and I'm just going to be honest, I liked a bit more of the chaotic nature of trickery, deception, and thieving. Found that I had quite the hand in it. It's like maybe if I trust you a little more, I'll even explain why I'm out here. But for now, you pay me, I'll help you.
Okay. Well.
So now that we're all in the tavern, we've seen him talk to someone for a while. I'll get up and walk over now.
Okay.
Since he said he wanted to go have a private conversation first.
Okay.
I'll show up now and introduce myself to a new friend, to Willoughby. Say my name is Shiro. I wanted to ask him what's going on in this town. We've heard things about the mayor. We've heard things about the undead.
Okay, go ahead and roll persuasion.
Sit at the table and drink.
Let's see.
Classic profession.
Persuasion +6, so that's 22.
Okay, nice. So it says, I'm going to be honest, guys. I just got here not too long ago, in fact. Believe it or not. Came in the same wagon you guys did. You just never noticed. Because I didn't actually pay my fare.
I sit on the back of it doing the old Dodger.
Or hanging on the bottom.
I just imagine like
Oh,
on
does
the
he keep
inside of the
fearing
seat
it?
and
Does he keep fearing it underneath the entire time?
Oh, there you go.
Alright.
It's like, in fact, I didn't even pay for this beer that I'm drinking right now.
We could be of use, though.
Crafty fellow.
Someone with your skills, would you care to join us as we go to the mausoleum and try and procure more magic items?
I says, all right. Like I told your friend here, you pay me, I'll happily lend you my services.
Okay.
I think we can work out a share of the bounty at the end.
Okay, so are we settling in for the night and then traveling?
Yes.
Okay,
I would
so
say
so that'll
Are
be
we
the
going,
end.
going out to the mausoleum tonight?
No, we'll sleep.
No, we,
over the
like
morning.
next morning.
Because
We'll,
they rise at
It's a
night.
travel, right?
yeah.
Right. Well, yeah, but if we go in the day. then-
Well, keep in mind, time has been progressing as we've been walking around.
Yeah,
so it's
so-
almost to the evening now.
It was noon when we arrived,
Oh,
then we
okay.
went to the tavern, then we went to
I figured.
Marketplace, then we went to Mayor's, then we came back to the tavern. So it's already night once we came back to the tavern.
We could
It's
go.
gonna
If,
be
we could go if you want. I would just think
Or
if
if
they,
Rest
rise,
up.
if they rise at night, it's better to go when they're
go like very
asleep,
early morning.
when they're like asleep
Yeah.
or whatever, and then we can
We can plan out.
maybe they're standing around and maybe they can't handle the sun. I don't know. Well, you know,
Ooh, that's true.
Now
just
the-
not outside where we can't get away to.
The question is, are we traveling over land? Or, pardon me, or are we taking the vehicle? Are we gonna pay the
Oh.
caravan guy to take us out?
How much would the
How far?
cart-
We asked the mayor where it was, and he said it was a mausoleum. Did he say where it was? How far away?
He said it's only a few hours away. It's a few miles, but
Okay, we can
if
do
we
it.
go by foot, it would take
Is that the
maybe
only-
half a day.
Is the caravan the only wagon, or do they have maybe like an open top wagon we can take?
or just
You could You could buy a carriage if you want and a horse, but it's gonna be. We'd have to pool our money for
Right.
like
Mhm.
100 gold.
how much would the caravan charge us to take us out there?
And it does come with the caravan guard that will stand guard.
Oh,
Okay.
beautiful.
Um,
If all else fails, we just haul ass back to them.
Start the horses.
it would be about 2 gold.
Okay.
2 gold
we
for
can
the day.
spare that.
Oh yeah, totally. Let's do that. Yeah.
We'll take the
And then-
caravan tomorrow.
Take what, like a quarter of a day if walking is half.
It'll only take a few hours.
Okay.
Yeah.
Beautiful. Yeah, let's
That
do
sounds
that.
good. All right, let's
Yeah.
do that. We'll leave
Okay.
around
And what? Leave it like sunrise.
dawn. Yeah.